LSU and Ole Miss.
Top 15 matchup in Baton Rouge. LSU 4-1 coming off of a bye. Ole Miss 5-1 now coming off of a drumming against South Carolina. They bounced back nice. The line right now is -2.5 Ole Miss on the road and 64.5 on the over and under.
I tell you, this is one of the most fascinating games of the season to me because obviously Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly and Ole Miss and LSU. Ole Miss already with a conference loss. LSU, only lost one game, and that was to start off the year to USC in a game that a lot of LSU fans thought they should win. But when you look at the Jackson Dart and the Nussmeier matchup, who do you trust the most to not turn the ball over in key situations? From what I've seen Nussmeier, I like a lot of it, the anticipatory throws, right? I still feel like he's in a system that doesn't fit him perfectly, but I trust Jackson Dart more, especially after last week, because I think, David, last week, we were questioning with Ole Miss, what type of culture do they have in the locker room? Because we look at a team like Florida State and the wheels have just come off. You made a bunch of mercenary hires in the transfer portal. It started out bad and it just kept going downhill. Would Ole Miss suffer the same fate? Because there's a lot of similarities in how those rosters were built through the transfer portal. I think Ole Miss answered a big culture question on the road at South Carolina. Not just a win, but a dominant physical win. Not we won 52-49 because Jackson Dart, made a play with his eyes closed at the end. No, they showed up and just whipped y'all's ass up there and made it seem like, hey, that was not us. We did not put our best foot forward against Kentucky. Just like Kentucky didn't put their best foot forward versus South Carolina, then went on to beat Ole Miss. So I think this told you a lot about the maturity of this team. I think this may be the pivotal point in Ole Miss's season where they said, you know what, this is where we transform into what we're going to be able to win some of these games we have to win. Sometimes a scare is needed. Sometimes walking through the darkness helps you see the light, and I don't trust Nussmeier against the blitz, and I think Goldham's going to heat him up like pizza rolls in an oven at a fat kid's sleepover.
That's pretty hot. That's getting heated up.
Pizza rolls in the oven are elite.
They really
better in the microwave,
crispier.
to be honest.
In the air fryer.
I'm kind of torn on this game. I'm not ready to pick a winner this early in the week. I don't think it can be overstated the way that Ole Miss bounced back in Columbia, South Carolina. I really don't. To just show the country, hey, our loss against Kentucky was an anomaly, not the creation of a pattern that you're going to see throughout the year. I do think Ole Miss is a better football team. I trust their quarterback more, like you were saying. At the same time, they will be on the road, and more than just being on the road and LSU having home field advantage in Death Valley, one of the toughest places to play. More than just that, like Brian Kelly historically following a bye week has been really good, and he's been really good since he's been at LSU. That's why I'm a little bit torn on this one. I mean, where are you going right now? And also, you like the under in this.
I do like the under.
Well, can I give Blaine credit just for 1 second?
Absolutely, Jay. Please take your time.
Because he always says I never give him credit. So you want to talk about your team being a reflection of your head coach. 2 weeks ago, Lane Kiffin on a Wednesday press conference, Tuesday press conference, is playing Kentucky that week at home, game they're favored by double digits in, says something about Hugh Freeze and trying to steal his coaches or something about Auburn, which makes it seem like, hey, maybe he's not focused on the main thing. And I said, you know what, that's just Lane being Lane. I'm sure his team's not that worried about it. Well, his team played like a distracted and unprepared team against Kentucky and lost the game. Fast forward to the next week, Lane Kiffin goes radio silent. Not on social media, nothing at all. And his team showed up and looked like a prepared, hungry team that was dialed in because they realized they needed to be more dialed in. You talk about the coach setting the tone for how the team plays. If you follow the correlations, you were spot on. And if I'm Lane Kiffin, I may not put anything on X the whole rest of the year, but there's no way he can go that long with that.
Yeah, 2 things, Coach Kiffin. Really appreciate you watching the show and getting on. And I've always said there's nothing more scary than a locked-in Lane Kiffin. If Lane can really get locked in, man, he can do a lot of damage in this sport, and I think you saw a locked-in Lane Kiffin this week. I don't know how you've seen this season and don't think Ole Miss is a better football team. And it's not because of the quarterback. It's not because of the receivers. It's because of the defense. Ole Miss defense, you can say what you want. Last week against South Carolina, what did they do? They showed up.
I thought they showed up
even
against
the loss to
Kentucky.
They showed up. And we're not used to talking about this with the Ole Miss football team. You go back and look at the scores against LSU, 55-49, 49-37. I don't think you're going to see that in this game. I think both offenses are good, but if there's anything I trust in this game, which is great, which I never thought I'd be sitting on a national sports show and saying, is I trust Ole Miss's defensive line more than I trust LSU.
I know.
I trust Ole Miss's front seven more than I trust LSU's. LSU's going to be able to put points up. We know that with the athletes they have a receiver. Hell, I'm watching two LSU receivers probably be the best in the National Football League, and Bryce Thomas Jr.'s and Malik Neighbors, who are absolute dogs. But sooner or later, defense is going to have to win you one of these football games, and I like Ole Miss's defense, especially from the line of scrimmage standpoint. And we've said this about a Brian Kelly coach team. You know, what's the play calling going to look like? Are they going to push the ball down the field? Are they not going to be afraid to take a chance? Because you're not going to be able to nickel and dime your way against a win against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put your players, Kyron Lacey, these guys, in the best positions to win. So that's the interesting fact to me. I do think the under is the best play here. It's already getting bet down. It started at 65.5. Some books have it at 64, and they're now getting down to 63. I think this is going to be a little bit lower scoring game than we're used to.
David, Brian Kelly, people talk about, oh, he can't win the biggest game.
Mm-hmm.
Lane Kiffin, oh, he can't win the big game. Somebody's got to win this one.
Yeah.
Who do you trust more? Do you trust Nussmeier more? Or do you trust Jackson Dartmoor on the road at LSU?
Okay, so to answer the quarterback question, probably Jackson Dart. To answer the coaching question, I mean, maybe Brian Kelly. Does this feel like one of those ones a couple years ago when Alabama came into Baton Rouge and Brian Kelly figures out a way to beat Bama in his very first year there? It kind of feels like that one. Like I said, I'm not ready to predict a winner right now. I do think Ole Miss is a better football team. The way they bounced back against South Carolina was very impressive, answered a lot of questions that a lot of us had. But that's even more reason now, coming off of a bye and it's in Baton Rouge, does this feel like one of those ones that Brian Kelly just doubles down on, and all of a sudden you look up, they win on a 2-point conversion at the end?
And I'm just going to be interested. We go back to that USC game, the fourth down calls. There will be some fourth down going forward.
I just can't get out of my head Moscona coming on our show before the season. And if you don't know Matt Moscona, really, he's very involved at LSU. And saying, I went out to practice and I watched him when they would pressure him, he would just throw the ball up and put it in bad situations. In a game that's decided by 3 to 5 plays, like I think this one's going to, regardless of how the start goes, I know they're going to heat this man up to see if he'll do it. And he's put the ball in harm's way a lot. And I don't know, just instinctually, just like last week, I was feeling Ole Miss was gonna win the game at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Like just with your instincts, I just think I struggle to trust Nuss as much.
Yeah, and the way he does it too, he fades away, right?
Yeah,
fades
that's the
away,
problem.
And that takes velocity.
And then LSU tackling in the open field,
which is huge.
Jackson's going to throw hitch.
I do want to make sure to make this point, guys, and you need to take it as serious as possible. The bye week for LSU is huge.
Huge.
From a health standpoint, to go play on the road back-to-back weeks in the SEC, if there's anything going for LSU, that is just giant.
Hey, YouTube, what's up? If you don't mind, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn that notification bell on. It's going to get crazy here if we've entered the halfway point of college football season. We appreciate you being here.